Respected Finance Minister of Gujarat, Vice Chancellor Bimal Patel ji, the other dignitaries on the dais, distinguished guests who have come to attend this program, recipients of the certificates, students from PhD courses, MPhils, MAs, degree, and also postgraduate diploma who have received their medals and certification today. To all of you all, my good wishes and congratulations for those who have cleared the courses today. I think it's a rare honor to be enrolled in a university which is a first of its kind anywhere in the world. And if that rare honor is bestowed on all of you, it is simply no exaggeration if I say it's the vision of the then Chief Minister and today India's Prime Minister to identify this area, a niche area where internal security, security of the nation, and also related services such as your economic security, caretakers, stakeholders, do need a professional institution in which they can be trained, certified by domain experts. If you thought of national security, you would have thought that it is through the armed forces that people can be trained from young, whether it is from Sainik schools or National Defense Academy, and subsequently in the Defense Forces itself. People get trained, and that infuses a lot of necessary skills together with a feeling of patriotism, and then you are seen as the forefront of national defense. But there was a huge area left unattended, with nobody's intention being left that way. It wasn't intended to be left unattended. It is a fact that for a large country like India, a large economy like India's, and the large economy which is fast growing like that of India, security is just not those which is physically taking care of us at the borders. Security is also something which has to feed into the national sense of well-being and national sense of being assured. For that, an established institution with domain experts coming in to train them from young and also upskill them when they are already in courses or already in the field is something which was a gap, if I may use that word, which needed to be filled. And therefore, it was just the foresight of the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Shri Narendra Modi, now the Prime Minister of the country, to see that that is an area in which training was required, instilling the feeling was required, and above all, looking at the newer growing areas where security arrangements have to be tightened, also to be given an academic institution. So that is where the Rashtriya Raksha University's place has bloomed out. And I can see the energy with which the Vice Chancellor has been working on this institution of excellence, and he's got a complete understanding of the various areas, sub-areas within this large canopy under which people are being trained. Even professionals who are already serving the country are being given that value-added training, upskilling, and you see, therefore, you have the Indian Air Force for its own people who have come and trained here, Indian Armed Forces, Coastal Police, and also many other institutions which are coming here to have their people upskilled and trained. So that vision has really today taken off and it's found its wings. And that's where we are today, celebrating this and making sure that those who are qualified get their medals and certificates. So it's a very important occasion for an university which has come into a niche area and is repeatedly proving its relevance for today's India's internal and external safety and security. It is, at this juncture, it is important for us to recognize newer challenges which are facing the country's security, not just at the borders. Today, technology doesn't wait to recognize borders. Technology, as much as it's available for us to increase productivity, technology is also being misused by some vested interests or dark forces who, because they have that skill, it is being put to wrong use, can be a threat for our financial services, for our national security in terms of attacking our institutions, which do give the backup support for those who are fighting for us at the front. Moreover, with technology giving us the benefit in the sense that we are able to today do many of our transactions through the digital use, which is much enabled because of the public infrastructure which we have created, the digital public infrastructure that we've created for ourselves. And as a result, you find that enabler which makes people's lives easier, the digital public infrastructure, is also facing a threat in that people who misuse their skills in the digital world can even threaten many of our installations, many of our digital payment areas, or even the digital areas with which many of our institutions, primary institutions, premier institutions run, whether it is the stock markets, whether it's the banks, whether it's the payment institutions, whether even those portals which run your daily services of e-marketing, or even those which are running platform services for fetching your cabs or for any others. So the more the digital presence in our lives, which makes our economic condition better, because people are able to now, even in remote areas, able to access markets globally, because they have a digital presence and access to digital portals. They are able to reach all the parts of the world to sell their produces. Equally, because of the strength of this kind of an access, you have people targeting them. And that's where, as much as you need physical force to take care of our borders, we need forces within the country who are tech savvy, who are also conscious of the threats that are before us to protect our digital world, which is now a big catalyst for our economy to grow leaps and bounds. If Honorable Prime Minister's destination before all of us Indians is Vikasit Bharat by 2047, and we are creating all these avenues through which we can achieve that destination, on the way, the threats before us are the ones for which I now can see clearly that the students of this course or this university, going through various different courses, are being readied to face those challenges and protect this country's economic, social, and sovereign rights, and also the power of this country. So this university, therefore, plays a very critical role in making sure a country which is growing, a country which is emerging with all those technology and also human power which many emerging markets do not have. I would even go to that extent to say many developed countries as well do not have the digital prowess that our country is seeing in the last 10 years. That digital prowess helped us during COVID. We were able to reach all our citizens wherever they were by sheer pressing of a button. and monies would go into their accounts. Vaccination was delivered because of the digital prowess. While manpower was on the field, the persons who got vaccinated knew what vaccine was given to them by sheer data which reached them on their phones. So technology today has seeped into every part of our lives. And it is that which is giving us that lubrication for reaching a very high level of economic development. But equally, as I say, we need people who understand threats which are being faced in this world, and that is where you're readying manpower, you're readying people who are already in their respective domains doing such a work, but also need to upskill their talents. If that is the service which this university is providing, there is also a need for Rashtriya Raksha University to continuously keep upgrading its curriculum. When you're looking at areas which are newer areas, areas where we didn't have a presence earlier, academic support earlier, these areas also are newer but fast-growing areas. Whether it is internal security, I was happy to hear from the Vice-Chancellor that for services of internal security, whether it is for private institutions or for government institutions, when you're readying manpower for it, you need them to understand how their area is also changing in its complexity. So if we were to produce and skill people who will take care of our institutions, large setup like an airport, or a field where industrial estate is present, or where there is immense investment happening, you need a force which has the complex understanding of the requirement of these areas. But these are also rapidly changing in its contour. What was technology 2 years ago is slightly outdated today. You have something else newer replacing it. So the training that you offer will also have to constantly keep upgrading itself and making sure that your people, the trained people from this university, are on the top of things. Whether it is looking at physical assets which are being protected or digital assets which are being protected, the instruments that you use, whether it's armed forces equipments or whether it is drones which are now available for civilian use, or any of these kinds, your training will have to constantly upgrade yourself so that you are ahead of the curve, ahead of the mischief makers, so that you can protect us from us as a people and us and our assets from any threats that they may face. In saying all this, I like to highlight the fact that in the last few years, the emphasis given for defense production in this country is a matter of pride. Not just investments, policy support has made India today a net exporter of defense components. Earlier, we were one of the biggest importers. And today, when you have exports happening from India, whether it's big vectors, whether it is BrahMos or a missile or smaller components for various different components, India is becoming the hub for defense production. And that is a big policy achievement under Prime Minister Modi. And there are a few data that I'd like to share with you just to emphasize on what level of achievement is happening. From being the second largest arms importer in 2015 to 19, as I said, India is now among the top 25 arms exporters, with over 100 companies exporting products like BrahMos missile, Pinaka rocket systems, and Dornier aircrafts. Now, India has achieved the highest ever growth in indigenous defense production. And this is where I'd like to share the number. In value terms, today we've reached a record high of 1.27 lakh crores in 23-24, And that is a 2.7-fold increase over 2014-15. Defense exports too reached an all-time high, surging 21,083 crores. And that is from 23-24. And where was this earlier in 2013-14? We were only exporting 686 crores in 2013-14. So you see that a 30-fold increase has happened in defense exports. Equally, I'd like to, for a minute, spend time talking about maritime security. I found that there were Indian coastal security forces also have been trained here. They are getting their certificates here. More than 80% of the global goods trade happens via ships. They're carried via ships across all the seas, with ports seen as a key to prosperity. Broader national security concerns are also linked with it. Over the last decade, we have doubled the capacity of our ports. I need these young qualifying people to understand, as much as you are training yourself with good institutions, Rashtriya Raksha University being one, India's investments in these areas are also going up, and I want you to be sure that the policy of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is to ensure that our borders are given that much attention with policy and money. So we have doubled the capacity of our ports, reaching 1,630 MTPAs, million tons per annum. By March 24, that is, compared to 800 MTPA in 2014. So rapid changes and increase in capacities. We also have achieved low-level dwell time of approximately 2.6 days at our ports, which is competitive even when you compare it with many of the developing countries. Dwell time actually increases the cost. The lower it is, it's better for the shipping industry. Turnaround time equally of our major ports has reduced to around 48 hours. Where was it before in 2013-14? 94 hours. From there, it has come down. You also know, because you are in Gandhinagar, gift cities here, they also have now taken significant steps for robust ship leasing and financing ecosystem in GIFT IFSC. The reason why I'm quoting so much on ports and also maritime security is the recent attacks in the commercial shipping arena in the Red Sea area. October 23 to March 24, for example, is a threat to the global shipping movements, commercial shipping movements. And many of us from India were happy to know and proud to know that Indian Navy and Coast Guard were the first responders to make sure that ships which are being held by pirates or ships which are abandoned because of such piracy, and the people who are on board have all been rescued by our first responders, the Coast Guard and the Navy. So we are already doing that kind of a response mechanism, which many other countries more stronger, bigger than us are not able to do. So in terms of being the first responder, India has earned a special name, and first responders are also master in disaster management. They're also management experts in terms of human resources, and they also have to do the first aid on the spot when they reach, all of which are various silos of earning which this university provides. One large area in which we've invested a lot, which requires a security a lot, and which is important for our economy, is how our renewable energy capacities are also growing. I like to underline the fact that the installed capacity in the renewable energy area has increased 2.7 times more than the past decades. Now, these are all very important installations towards national security, and that's where the role of the students who are qualifying from here is also important. Similar are the investments that we are making in Bharat modular small reactors, which is going to be one of the biggest sources of our energy. And that is one specialized area in which nuclear-related challenges will also be, I think, a part of learning, because that is also important for us to, one, protect from challenges which can be posed onto them. Critical minerals is an area in which government has invested a lot. Protecting our mineral resources is also a very big area. You would know that recently the cabinet has approved the construction of 2,280 kilometers of roads in our border areas, particularly in Rajasthan and in Punjab. The investment will be to the range of 4,406 crores. Why am I emphasizing on this? Border area infrastructure has its own unique requirements, whether it is in the cold, hot deserts, you're here in Rajasthan or in Thar Desert or in Kutch, but whether you're looking at high-range villages in the high-altitude areas, they're all now looked after in the name of vibrant villages, but their security needs are not only cross-border, but within the area, internal security has also got an implication there. And I think, therefore, whilst on the one hand, government investing in terms of fiscal resources, money, the other, the kind of trainees that you are producing here are the ones who are going to give us the human power to face the challenges, whether it is in the border villages, who Honorable Prime Minister refers as not the border last villages, but the entry point to India as the first villages in the border, whose interests we should take care of. We are building infrastructure there. You will be needed there also to protect the borders. So there are many more such investments which I'd like to highlight, but for want of time, I wouldn't elaborate. It is important to recognize India is growing in the eyes of all our competitors. India's growing is one thing, but we are growing in the eyes of all our competitors. It's also growing in the eyes of those people who see this kind of a growth from an emerging democracy as something which is astonishing them. And whilst there can be many well-wishers, there are also people who think this should not be entertained and who can challenge us. And that is where I'm very impressed by the way in which Honorable Prime Minister has had the vision to set this university. And it's also very heartening to know that it is in the constituency of our Home Minister, who has taken a keen interest in strengthening this university. And therefore, today, I'm very humbled to be here, to see the kind of work which is going on here. I wish this institution all the very best and success that it can face. And also, best wishes for all the qualifying students today. You earned your degrees and medals because of your hard work. But it is in the service of this nation that all of us are assembled here. You have qualified here, and this message should be taken through to all parts of the country. And I'm also pleased to know that one in Arunachal Pradesh, one in Uttar Pradesh, one in Puducherry, and one in Karnataka are also attached to this university. So the 4 outstation university centers will equally shine as much as you have shown today. So thank you very much for having me here. All the very best and a very impressive show in terms of qualifying in a very new and a very growing area. All the very best.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now request the Vice Chancellor, sir, to conclude and declare the convocation dissolved.